Hello, everyone. This is Professor Thayer. I just wanted to take a quick moment to give you some ideas on how you might put together a Hangman project. I know a number of you might be concerned about finishing your projects, and it's a little bit more difficult to work on your projects when we don't have that opportunity to meet in person. So what I wanted to do is, first of all, give you the option to switch your project to Hangman, and also just give an idea as to how you might put a Hangman project together. So to help you out with this, I actually did a Hangman project myself this morning. It's a very basic one. But I just wanted to give you some idea as to like what the most basic project would be. Um, for a project that does what this one does, I would say would probably be starting off for a grade around like a B minus. So this is not an A project, but it give you an idea of where you can start. And as you'll see, there's certainly plenty of ways that you could build out your project to incorporate more advanced skills or add some additional features to your project to make it work better. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share my screen with you so you can see how it looks in action, so you get some ideas to the things that they're going to do. And what I did is I also deleted out my code but left all my notes and like a template around how I had designed it. And I will show you that, and I can also make that available for you in case you want to use that as a sort of like a way to get started on your project. Definitely doesn't mean you have to do it the way that I did it, but hopefully it will just be a way for you to get started. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you. So I'm going to share my screen one. Okay, so this is our template, and I have the actual code over here on another screen, which I'm not going to show you. And I'm just going to go ahead and run this code. So this is our output here. So I'm going to just start off showing you what it looks like when it actually runs. So I know you can't see the original code, but so here you can see that it's actually drawing up my scaffold, and I have this nice little background. And we see down here that it's asking me to enter my guess. All right, and I've also left this in a sort of like a debugging mode so we can see what's going on. So obviously in the final version, you don't want to show the answer, but this is just hiding one print. All right, so I just want to show you some features about what I've done for validating the input. So that's something you'll want to do. So for example, if I type a number, you see it says, sorry, that is not an alphabetic character. Please enter your guess as a single letter. Okay, so now if I type multiple letters, we also get, please enter only one letter at a time. Okay, suppose I enter some special characters, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you see it's not an alphabetic character. So you want to have some sort of built-in checks on your game. All right, so now we can see what we're supposed to be guessing is green. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to guess a correct letter. So I'm going to type lowercase g. Now notice what happened. What it's showing here is it shows what I guessed. Okay, so it says you already guessed, and we have this empty brackets because I hadn't made any guesses. And it also reports on my progress so far. So it's showing me now that I've guessed the letter G. Notice that it went from a lowercase to a capital. So you see it has the feature that no matter what the input was for the letter, if the letter was correct, whether it's lowercase or uppercase, it's going to go to the correct case. Now, how could we change the user's input to do that? You'd be thinking about that. Okay, so now here we're ready to make another guess. So now I'm gonna guess a bad guess. I'm gonna guess Q. Okay, so let's see what it says. You already guessed G, so that's fine. So Q is not in the secret word. Bad guess number 1 out of 6. So notice that it's keeping track of the number of guesses that I have. So that's suggesting we probably want to have a counter. So your progress so far, I only have 1 correct. And look over here. We have a head on the scaffold. Uh-oh, I'm nearing death here. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna continue guessing bad things. Oh, actually that one wasn't there. I am just guessing some random stuff here. A and okay. Oh dear, look at that. So that's what happens when my hangman is over. So let's see what happened. It's telling me all the list of the letters that I guess so that I don't guess them twice. But the counter doesn't go up if I guess it again. And it also doesn't count against me if I guess an invalid character such as numbers or special characters. Now we see we get this message, game over, you lose, and thank you for playing Hangman. All right. Let's try again, and let's do this in the situation where I could actually win the game. So let me just restart that. All right, and since we're in the debug mode, it's actually telling us the answer. So we see that it is purple. So I'm gonna come over here now, and I'm gonna start guessing. Oh, look at this. Look at that, I've gotten all these correct guesses. PRPL. Ta-da! Congratulations, you won with only 0 wrong guesses. Thank you for playing Hangman. All right, so obviously we could just go in here and we could turn printing the correct word off. So I could even just go and do that. Let's see, word bank. And we could run it like that. Anyways, you know how to do that. What I'd like to do, because I'm a little short on time at the moment, is I want to show you the template. So now you've got some ideas to the things that ought to happen when you're actually running it. So now what I want to do is go ahead and actually show you what my code looks like. So remember that you're going to have some questions to answer at the beginning, and you want to have your heading at the top. Now, I think you may have a different set of questions. I actually pulled this from last semester. What this is going to do is hopefully maybe help to prompt you on some of the things that you may want to include in your code. So what we have here is just illustrating some good practices. Note that we have it organized, so all the imports are at the top. So I'm going to need turtle and random. So random for selecting the word, for example. Okay, then you want to have all of your functions. If you have objects in there, you will also want to have your objects up here. You'll have all your objects together, so you'll be defining your class. We haven't done object-oriented programming at the time of the recording of this, but that's on the way. So what we want to do is have it organized like this. Don't forget to keep track of your inputs and outputs and documenting your functions. You'll also be doing that in any of your objects if you include those. So you see this is actually the code for actually drawing the scaffold. So I've just left this here because it's got a couple of useful things in how to manipulate the turtle. So you might enjoy that. Okay, then you're going to need to have some functions that are going to draw the body parts, which I've worked out here and left for you to figure out. You see I have some passes in here. And I also made this little function that actually draws the whole man just to do testing so that I can verify it works. This function is going to set up the turtle environment. You saw that I had that nice blue background and so forth. You might want to do that. I have a function that's going to select a word out of a word bank. So basically it's taking a list. So you can see that I was doing some colors. Obviously this is a very limited word bank. You may want to customize your game to use words from different themes, or sports or hobbies and that kind of thing are always popular choices. So you might think about that. So what you want to do is you want to pick your word. You might even have multiple word banks and levels and these kinds of things, so ways that people typically improve their game here. Now, right here we have this here is valid guess. So this is going to be checking about whether or not the user input is good or not. So you saw that I was able to screen my input to do things like exclude numbers and that sort of thing. So you want to have something like that set up in yours as well. I also set up the secret word. So you might think about like, how are we going to do this? So I'm thinking that you want to think about having 2 lists. One list is going to have the word that actually needs to be guessed, like the color, like green or purple or whatever. And the other one is going to have in it what the user has guessed so far, the dashes. So you want to think about setting up a list. So it should have some characteristics, like it should be as long as the actual word. And then how will you be transforming that list, doing mutations in order to put in the information that the user has guessed. So you need to think about that. That's a key part of the mechanism for making this project work. So mine is designed so that setup secret actually handles setting that up. And then the other thing that I have a function for is getting the guess. Okay, so that's gonna go and actually collect the guess from the user, and then it calls the validation function. That's how I did it. You could organize it differently, but that's how I have mine up set up. Then we're going to have main. So you can imagine that we're going to need to have some sort of code in here. So these are just all the notes in the order of the way that I set mine up. So here I set up the turtle first, and then I tested out drawing the man and commented out. And now I have some word banks, so you could do a similar thing. Could make this more complicated. You could acquire it in a more difficult way, such as using file input and output. You might incorporate a dictionary. So ask the user, like, what is your favorite sport? Maybe you have 5 different sports, each with words pertaining to that sport, or whatever you want to do. Then we're going to have some function calls for various tasks. So this is the order mine we're in. I selected a word function call for setting up the blanks for the user to fill in. So you can see that I had those functions up above, or placeholders for them here. Initialization needed of lists and counters. So think about the things. So think about the message that was printed out. It was telling how many wrong guesses they had. You might want to keep track of the total guesses. You might want to keep track of what's been counted so far. Then we're going to have the actual main loop here. So in most games, you're going to have some kind of a loop that's going to iterate over the plays. So that's a good thing to do, is to have a while true statement to do something like that. And then, of course, you'll need something in order to get out. So I just have break here. In fact, the loop would continue on down further down here for the things you have in there, obviously. But these are some of the things that you might consider having in your gameplay. So you might check if a letter has already been guessed, check if the guess is in the secret. That is, are they guessing a letter that's actually in the word, and then updating the blanks to show the correctly guessed letters, as I showed to you before. And then you're going to need to have some code for winning the game. So I'm thinking probably some kind of an if block. And then we're going to also need to have some situation if they have lost the game. So you might set that up with an if statement as well, or it might be a kind of like a default thing, like they've gotten beyond the number of sticks in the stick figure, or whatever it's going to be. Okay, and so you'll need some way to terminate the while true loop, either by winning or losing, which is what these 2 things are going to accomplish. And then we have just a little thank you note at the bottom to thank the users for playing our game. All right, so anyways, I hope that just kind of gives you some idea as to how you might tackle going about this project, gives you some ideas to some of the functions that you might want to do. As I was developing it, I actually found it most useful to develop it using the simplest pieces first. I also separated out developing the interface for drawing the hangman with what was actually doing the gameplay. So I actually worked on drawing the scaffold and the man with numbers of guesses completely independently of actually doing any guesses. And then I worked on guessing the word, and then I was able to hook those 2 things together using a simple if statement once I had that up and working. So you want to think about developing it in modular parts. You want to think about setting it up in simplest case first, and then moving to more and more difficult aspects of the project as you want to add more things in. The other thing I would definitely recommend is frequently saving your code. So let's say you've set up one thing and that is working. Maybe you have set up, selecting a random word out of a word bank. Okay, go right ahead and save a copy of that so that if you mess it up in the next steps, you'll always be able to go back. I always say, oh, it's not going to happen to me. It happens, and it happened this morning, even to me. And I was glad I had a backup copy, because sometimes you do something and you just don't know what it is you did, and it's really hard to debug it. So sometimes it's better to just go back to your last working copy. Other things I would recommend about coding is you don't want to do this all in one sitting. You definitely want to plan ahead. Sometimes looking at it with fresh eyes is really the best way to debug. So if you've been working on something and you're stuck, try going on to another part of the project, or better yet, if you can put it down and go do something else for a couple hours or till the next morning and start on it fresh. That can really be helpful. Of course, Also, myself and the TAs will be happy to meet you online to go over it. We have a whole week or lab session set aside for the workshops, so I'll definitely be happy to see you then. In the meantime, I hope that your projects are going well, and I hope you're going to find this helpful. I hope that you'll still be enthusiastic about doing the projects you've already signed up for, but if you're feeling stuck or you're feeling a little bit uneasy and you just want a go-to project, this and tic-tac-toe are the typical ones, and hopefully this will just give you a way to get started and just give you some ideas. All right, thanks so much, guys. I wish you all health and happiness. I hope all your families are doing well and that you're all staying safe wherever you are, and hopefully I will be seeing you soon. Thanks so much. Till next time. Bye-bye.